It's a real pleasure to be here tonight. And I take your presence here tonight and tomorrow to be emblematical of something incredibly profound. And the more my eyes begin to focus in the bright lights, the more I'm seeing people I've known for a very long time in different places, and friends I have met this afternoon, too. So I'm really touched that we're here together and that we have this whole next, basically 24 hours to drop deeply into mindfulness in America, since not only are we in America, but we are America, including those of you who are not Americans. If you're here, there's a certain way in which, for now at least, you're America. If you want to be, nobody's selling it to you. Because it's got its dicier aspects. And I can say that because this is the island where I was born and where I grew up. So every time I come here, I feel a deep sense of connection to New York City and to Manhattan and to the energy in this place. And of course, that energy can take you on trips everywhere but into the essence of who you are, so you can very easily get lost in the energy. But we don't have to. And so if you can meditate in Manhattan, you can meditate anywhere on the planet. And just to say, I brought my bells because, and any of you who have sat a meditation retreat with me will know that very often we'll start the meditation practice with some bells. And we'll just follow the sound of the bells into hearing what's here to be heard. Because you can't close off your ears, so they're always hearing. They're always attending to sound and the spaces between them. And the spaces between them is called silence. And you can't have music without the space between the notes. So the reason I brought the bells was to say I'm not going to ring the bells to start the meditation, although I just did, nor am I going to ring them to close the meditation, because the real meditation has no beginning and no end. Okay? This is it. Your coming is a meditation practice. Somebody inside each one of you decided to make the journey here for some set of reasons, which I'm guessing is quite mysterious and complex when you come right down to it. And that's one of the things we need to celebrate. And there are an extraordinary number of you that I recognize in the room who are doing unbelievably powerful work to transform the world, to bring it, to have it come literally and metaphorically to its senses, for us to wake up to the full dimensionality of what it really means to be human and embodied humans. And not self-centered, because if you start to explore mindfulness or awareness, you will not find the center of your awareness. It's very interesting. Check it out when we drop into silence, but even asking who's meditating. It's not your name that's meditating or your CV. And so let's take a few moments, because that's all we have in life. And establishing yourself as best you can, whether you're jet-lagged, if you came halfway around the world, or you just rolled out of bed and into symphony space. Establishing yourself in a posture that embodies why you came. And I'm guessing that part of that is love. Love for something. that embodies dignity, that embodies some kind of open-hearted spaciousness around integrity. And as you establish yourself in this kind of posture, if you're sitting or if you're standing, that's fine too. Or for that matter, lying on the floor, standing on your head. Awareness is not posture specific. It's not all about stillness and forget about motion. No, it's about stillness inside movement, movement inside stillness. So just because we stilled the body doesn't mean that the mind is all of a sudden, whoopee, we're meditating and goes on radio silence. Usually not. And that's not what meditation's about. It's not about like shutting off your thinking. How many of you are brand new to meditation like this? You happen to stumble in here and this is like, well, who are all these weird meditators? Anybody here who's like, this is your first experience of formal meditation? Thank God there's one person at least. Okay, so you're way ahead of the curve because you have what the Zen people like to call beginner's mind. Not so many opinions. So mindfulness is not about getting anywhere. It's not about having some special experience, dropping into some special state, becoming wise and more photogenic in the process. It's about being who you already are in your fullness. So it's about being, not doing. So you don't have to instrumentalize it, although there's a piece of it that's instrumental, but there's another piece that's non-instrumental. And there's no place to go, nothing to do, and no special something that a brass ring you're going to grab and attain. And when you work on these two elements, like the yin and yang or the electron, wave particle complementarity, you're dropping in on an aspect of being that is profoundly transformative and profoundly healing. And sometimes that looks like silence and stillness, and sometimes it looks like running or making love or getting your children dressed or undressed, or telling them a story, or making eye contact with a stranger in New York City who's reaching out, but easy to avert your gaze. And so let's just simply rest here in awareness. With the full poignancy of everything that has brought you here. All the thinking and the stories about what brought you here, and then maybe the not knowing also. There may be an equal, if not more powerful element of why you're really, 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 really here. And so allowing yourself to be at home in your body in this timeless moment we call now. And in the boundless spaciousness of your own awareness, with no agenda whatsoever other than to be as awake as you can be to whatever is arising in the field of experience. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, doesn't matter. Just this. Just this moment, just this breath, just this sitting here, just this being human. Eyes open's fine. Eyes closed, fine. That's somebody's mind calling. And don't laugh, because it happens to all of us. You'll notice that just because the body is still, and you're maybe aware of the body sitting here breathing as a primary object of attention, that your mind has a life of its own. You wanted to come to a mindfulness conference and you traveled halfway around the world, and now your mind is thinking about dinner or changing your hotel room or finding a hotel room or whatever it is, or the people back home. And that's just the nature of the mind. It just has a life of its own, and it could care less that you're at a mindfulness conference and we're supposed to be meditating at this moment. It's just, so can you hold even that without having to push it away or pursue it? Just let it be there, put the welcome mat out, and just be the knowing and the not knowing, for that matter, that your awareness not only is, but always has been, and maybe we just haven't recognized it. And so this is a space in which we can reside. It's called the space of our own awareness. Can you hear me at the back of the room when I talk like this? Just nod, okay. Of course, if you can't hear me, how are you going to know what the nodding is all about? And so we can learn to actually take up residency in the spaciousness, the boundless spaciousness of our own awareness. We're not taught this in school. We're taught to become really good thinkers, and the trouble is we've been really good at it. Now we can't even get to sleep. Never mind, wake up. But we haven't lost this capacity by any stretch of the imagination. And the practice is really one of cultivating access to what is already you, who you already are, what you already have. And to recognize that your thinking, your thoughts about whatever, inwardly or outwardly, are events in the field of awareness. They're called thoughts. They're not the truth. And the narratives, the stories we generate endlessly are not the truth either. Especially our favorite story, the story of me, of course, starring me. And so when we see this unfolding moment by moment, we can just let the entire play of the mind, thinking, emotional reactivity, this and that, just be there. And in awareness, it's like you don't have to change the channel. It's like, doesn't matter whether it's in the body or the mind, or they're not separate. There's only what's happening, what's unfolding in this moment, and how we choose to be in relationship to it. Either getting caught in the narrative, the thought stream, and carried away, or making use of the thought stream because there's some gold in it, and also a huge amount of dross that drags us down and fetters us. And so although we're sitting here and this is a formal guided meditation, I mean, thoughts might arise in the mind like, well, will he ever shut up? And just for God's sake, let us meditate. Yeah, that's a possibility. But the point here is that it's all meditation. If life isn't meditation, then you can sit on your ass for 100 years and just be the same old that you've always been. And if you hope for this to be a trajectory of learning, growing, healing, and transformation, then we have to understand what mindfulness really is. Or it'll just become one more commodity, one more thing that people want to sort of sell you on, or claim is like the answer to all life's problems, or whatever. And it's much too precious to let it go that way, and the only real bulwark against that is you and your practice. and me in my practice, because it's a distributive responsibility to take care of life, the world, what we have, our children, our parents. The natural resources we've been gifted. So if mindfulness isn't big enough to hold it all, then it's not worth coming to a conference like this. But as you will see from the entire unfolding of the conference, that's exactly what it's about. So what we're doing is, in some sense, I like to think of this as, in neuroscience terms, we're shifting the default mode from mindlessness and mind wandering and just kind of being all over the place to mindfulness / heartfulness. Because in all Asian languages, the word for mind and the word for heart is the same word. So we're just restructuring the brain, nothing less, and restructuring our sense of self and sense of we rather than me, and embracing the full dimensionality of what it means to be human. As a Homo sapiens sapiens, the species that is aware and knows that it's aware, we still have a ways to go to live our way into that as a species. And the stakes, I don't have to exaggerate it at all, are rather on the high side. So silence, stillness, awareness, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, sensing, knowing, proprioception, interoception, are all part of this boundless landscape that's already yours and already you when you begin to investigate the nature of your own heart, your own mind. So let's simply take up residency here, moment by moment, by timeless moment. With whatever's unfolding. And when the mind wanders, which it will 1,000,000 times, here, there, everywhere, the past, the future, liking, disliking, wanting, not wanting, hoping, it's all thinking. Seasoned with heavy-duty emotions often. And the only extra instructional set that you need is when you see that your mind is not in the present moment and embracing the full spaciousness of awareness, or some particular object like the breath sensations in the body, if you're anchoring your awareness in that kind of a way, then noticing what's on your mind. As soon as you notice what's on your mind, that's part of the curriculum. What's on your mind is on your mind. How are you going to be in awareness of it? How are you going to be in relationship to it? And so for the remaining moments of this sitting, and there are an infinite number of moments in this particular meditation between now and when I'm not going to ring the bells and say it's over. So see if you can inhabit that infinitude of moments without any striving, without any grasping, without any judging, just for fun. And if it isn't fun, maybe you should go across the street and go catch a movie. And the fact that that didn't even get a laugh means that you really know what you're doing here. And I love that. Where is your mind in this moment? Is it lost in thought, or is it in the past or the future, or is it right here resting in awareness? If the mind wanders, just knowing. When you notice the mind is off, you bring it back. Wanders again, you bring it back. Wanders 100,000 times. Each time, as if for the first time, you bring it back. Lovingly, gently. And at the same time, sitting as if your life depended on it. Because it does. In this moment, it's sitting. It's a lot more than sitting, but in this moment, it's sitting. And you wouldn't be here if you didn't, in some way or other, at least intuit that your life does depend on it, in more ways than you think, and in more ways than any of us can possibly think, because thinking, while wonderful, isn't the entirety of human intelligence. So now if your eyes have been closed, I would invite you to allow them to slowly open, and noticing whether you can maintain this moment-to-moment, non-judgmental awareness right through that transition. And can you bring awareness to your body sitting? It's the end of a long day. Has your body collapsed, or is that intrinsic dignity still manifested in the carriage of the body? Just knowing it, being aware of it. So as the evening unfolds, and as tomorrow's program unfolds, try to keep in mind that it's all the meditation practice. And even when you go to sleep tonight, when you wake up tomorrow morning, there's no moment of your life that's like, well, a throwaway moment. When you wake up tomorrow morning, try lying in bed in what's called a corpse pose in yoga, lying on your back for a few moments with your hands, palms up, and your feet falling away from each other, and just feel the entire body lying there breathing, and realize you've got at least one more day that you might be alive. And then go for it. And bring that mindfulness into the bathroom, into breakfast, into getting to this venue tomorrow. And realizing that everything that's happening, not just on the stage is the least interesting piece of it. What's happening in your hearts, in our hearts all together, that's where the action lies. I've come to see over the years, I've said this many times, many of you may have heard it, that I've come to see the formal meditation practice of like sitting meditation, where I take my seat in the morning for an extended period of time. I've come to see it as a radical act of sanity. A radical act of love, just to not get all carried away with the doing, but to drop into being, to tune the instrument before you play it, and to continually tune, and return. So I really want to express my gratitude to Soren and Michelle and everybody who's organized this, and to Anderson Cooper, who's lent his, gravitas to the entire thing, as you'll see tomorrow. And to all of the participants, you and the presenters. And to just say, this is a huge, not just honor, but it's a huge adventure that we are already on. And we're at the threshold of the next unfolding of it. And it's not about me. It's about we. And that we is at least as wide as the world. So I want to thank you all for your attention and just express my deep, deep gratitude to you and respect for the energy that has brought you here. Thank you.